Welcome to my YouTube channel, Inclusive Classroom, with myself, Uzwelakhe Galela. Umfiso muhle, umfiso ngafi, mabele mate oncelisa umntwana ngaphesheya komfula. I'm excited finally that I get to sit down in such a platform. Today is our first episode of Inclusive Classroom. I'm hoping that not only I'm going to share about the experiences that I've had as an inclusive educator, teaching in 2 special schools over the past 9 years, close to a decade of being in an inclusive classroom, but also to encourage those who are currently studying teaching to say they should also consider being educators in special schools. Now I'm going to share, of course, the interaction I've had also with my colleagues, the journey in terms of moving from a school to a classroom, the experiences and the challenges that I've had, but above all, I am going to share the beautiful experiences that I've had with abantwana aba nama neurodevelopmental disorders. Well, according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Disorders, it refers to neurodevelopmental disorders, a group of conditions with onset in developmental period. The disorders typically manifest early in the developmental, often in development, often before the child enters grade school, and are characterized by developmental deficit that produce impairments of personal, social, academic, or occupational function. Just a bit of background about the manual that I just referenced, DSM-5. Now, DSM-5 is a book of mental health and mental brain-related conditions or disorders, if you may. It's a manual that lists the categories and also provides information about conditions and their symptoms. It is a manual that is published by APA, American Psychiatric Association. There are more than 30,000 physicians who constantly do research about conditions and their treatment and prevention methods. So the primary purpose of the manual is to assist psychologists, psychiatrists, as well as other mental health professions to diagnose as well as treatment of those illnesses. This manual gets revised or reviewed between 5 to 7 years. You can just imagine the extensive work that goes into making such a manual contain updated information. Now, getting back to our topic of neurodevelopmental disorders, we can conclude that people living with neurodevelopmental disorders, they acquire these disorders during the developmental stages. However, there are diagnostic tests such as screening test called maternal serum screening that one can undertake. Now, we can conclude that people living with neurodevelopmental disorders, they acquire these disorders during their developmental stages. However, there are diagnostic tests such as screening test called maternal serum screening. It is done to pregnant women to see if the child that they are carrying may have in any way disabilities such as Down syndrome or intellectual disability. So these tests help the parents to know if their child is going to have disabilities. These particular disorders do affect people in these following areas: physical function, where limitation to carry out certain functions are hindered and constant assistance is required. Social life is also affected, where one experiences difficulty in interacting with others through physical, emotional, as well as oral communication. Academic function is also affected, such as mathematics, reading and writing, as well as attention, especially memory and attention, memory function rather. Lastly, occupational function, where one struggles to complete daily activities such as getting in and out of bed, making food for themselves, and also dressing and undressing and addressing themselves, as well as feeding themselves. We can therefore summarize that people living with disorders or disabilities require different kind of care, different kind of love, and different kind of schooling environment where they can access learning through support. This is where inclusive education comes in, especially in a form of special schools. According to one of the policies of the Department of Education called White Paper 6 of 2001, it defines inclusive education as a sector within the schooling system that, number one, acknowledges that all children and youth can learn and that all children and youth need support, accepts and respect the fact that all learners are different in some way and have different learning needs, which are equally valued and ordinary part of our human experience. Inclusive education also acknowledges and respects differences in learners, whether due to age, gender, ethnicity, language, class, disability, or HIV status. Inclusive education also is about changing attitudes, behavior, teaching methods, curricula, and environment to meet the needs of all learners. Lastly, it is also about empowering learners by developing their individual strength and enabling them to participate critically in the process of learning. The following definition from UNESCO also agrees with the above principles by stating that inclusive education is a child's right, not a privilege. Inclusion promotes quality and equitable education for all, without exclusion, including those who may potentially be marginalized by learning need or social position, and increasing awareness about the rights of children with disability to have access to the same educational service as children without a disability has led to the idea of inclusive education. The Constitution of our country, Chapter 2, Bill of Rights, also stresses that everyone has a right to free quality education, including those living with learning disabilities. Therefore, it was important for our education system to be inclusive in its delivery post-94, as those who were living with disabilities during apartheid were not catered for. That is why special schools were formed as a manner of support, such as also this manner of support was also included in a mainstream setting, such as your primary school as well as your secondary school. This basically means how supporting learners with learning challenges is carried out by assisting them to be part of various forms of learning. In other words, just because learners are experiencing learners barriers, it does not mean that they need to be excluded from the classroom setting. They need to be included, and somehow the teaching methods needs to be revised and to be looked at. Through research, different kind of teaching methods are also implemented to support these learners with barriers to learning. Now, if you go to also one of our policies, South African Schools Act number 84 of 96, it also promotes the equal rights to all children by stating that no child should be discriminated because of learning barriers that they are experiencing. This means that no child should be out of school. No child should be out of school by being discriminated because of the disability that they are experiencing. In other words, they need our support. Learners or children with disabilities, they need our support, and they also need to be in school. They should not be staying at home and be kept at home, because we know that according to our constitution, as we have read, that each and every child has the right to free quality education. The above legislation that we have stated is binding to us all, whether you are a parent, teacher, or guardian, or any member of our society or communities, that it is our responsibilities to make sure that children need to attend school, including those with severe to profound disabilities. This is the reason why special schools were formed. It is worth noting that it is not the intention of the inclusive education to take abantwana from the mainstream setting, that is your primary school and your secondary school, and place them in a special school, but to identify learners with learning challenges and provide adequate support. I think this one is very clear and very important, that we also note that it is not the intention of the inclusive education that abantwana that are experiencing barriers to education, abantwana that have disabilities, should be removed from mainstream setting. No, but it basically means that abantwana who are experiencing barriers to learning in the very same setting, whether it's primary school or secondary school, they need to be supported as such. Therefore, therefore there should be no reason for abantwana ukuthi bahlale emakhaya bangayi esikolweni, as long as umntwana is still within the school going age. I'll give you an example. Umntwana, a learner that is wheelchair bound, that child, if cognitively, intellectually, he or she is sound and sharp, that child should not be placed in a special school. In fact, esikolweni sakhe, wherever they may be, they need to make sure the learning environment or the classroom environment is conducive, making sure rails are available for the wheelchair to move, as well as have access to a bathroom and most importantly, in movement inside and outside the classroom. That is one example I can give. Another example, as you can see, I'm modern classes. Let's say, for example, umntwana useklasini uhlele emumva akabone ebhodini, he or she cannot access what is written ebhodini. Now, the responsibility of the teacher is that they need to consult parents of umntwana to say, umntwana akabone eklasini, what could the challenge be? Then umzali will come to school and take umntwana amise for eye testing and make sure that umntwana gets all the support they need. If it is found that umntwana needs to have classes, then means umntwana will be provided classes, and also eklasini utishera will move umntwana emuva ambeke phambili so that umntwana will be able to access what is written ebhodini. That is very, very important to note that just because you have learning disabilities basically means that the support that is provided by utishera as well as abazali and everyone in the community, that support needs to be specific. If umntwana unenkinga yokubona, inkinga yamehlo, therefore we need to focus on what can we assist umntwana. Inkinga ye-wheelchair, as well as making sure ukuthi abantwana laba abanama disabilities, they are able to access education, they are able to access imfundo eklasini. Learners should be supported according to their different learning challenges. Like I said, in a school setting, there's no size that fits all the challenges that abantwana may be experiencing. So it is a responsibility of Tina, Bazali, and everyone in the community, including utishera, to understand it, to identify what could be the challenge of umntwana. No child should be out of school because of learning challenges that are experienced, because inclusive education has made it possible for support to be made in schools. No child should be out of school because of the learning challenge that they're experiencing, because inclusive education through the system of education in our country has made it possible for support to be available in schools for those learners to be supported. There is a high number of learners who are not in school. Reasons may vary, however, that doesn't mean it should be accepted. Whether there are reasons why abantwana they are not in school, no, we cannot just accept those reasons. We cannot accept those reasons. Why? Because we have been told by our legislatures and also our constitution that no child should be out of school because of the learning challenges that they're experiencing. As we have read our legislation above to say, no child should be out of school because of the learning challenge that is being experienced, because inclusive education has made it possible for support to be made available in schools for those learners to be catered for. There is a high number of learners who are not in school. Reasons may be there to justify why abantwana they may not be in school, but unfortunately, personally, I cannot accept such reasons, as well as our legislature cannot accept such reasons because it has been stated that abantwana, as long they are within the school going age, need to be in school. There's an article written by Natalie Cowling dated February 28, 2024. She found the number of children out of school in South Africa increased by 222,952 children since the previous year. Therefore, 2021 was a significant increase in the number of children out of school. In other words, between 2020 and 2021, there was 30% increase of abantwana who were not in school. Now, as I said before, ama reasons akhona why abantwana banga attend school, but those reasons are not justifiable because abantwana they need to be in school. One of the examples I can give, one of the experiences I can share is that when I was also being a teacher in the Northwest, I remember there was a child who didn't come to school for 5 or 6 months because abazali they were citing to umntwana is helping around the house as well as a famine. And then of course we had to contact our social workers to assist us to make sure that our rights umntwana are being upheld rather. This phenomena of abantwana not attending school still exists today. That is why the article is telling us that abantwana there's a huge number and there's a huge increase of abantwana who are not attending school year by year, and this number is increasing. Now it is the responsibility of everyone to make sure we are attending school. This is alarming. The fact that our communities are not aware of inclusive education, are not aware of special schools that may cater for abantwana banjalo. Nami, I know during my teaching days where abazali kept abantwana emakhaya from birth until I think maybe 6-7 years. Abantwana bang attend crash, bang attend school because abazali, well, they have their reasons. Mhlambe they are protecting abantwana from being ridiculed or mhlambe from uhlekwa, but it is not right because according to our constitution as well as South African Schools Act, support has been made available through inclusive education. There are no reasons to justify why abantwana bang attend school. There are no reasons, and I'm sure in this number that is referred by Natalie Cowling, abantwana that have disabilities now, but they are included in this number. They are kept at home for several reasons, but reasons wabo, I cannot say they weigh water, because that means we as a community are not doing enough to make sure we assist abazali bethu in terms of information, in terms of making sure we understand the importance. No matter the disability that umntwana is having or experiencing, there are schools that have been formed for abantwana abanjalo to be catered for. There are countless articles reporting how children with disabilities are abused, even killed, such as the father killing his 5-year-old child because umntwana autistic. Children with disabilities should be taken care of. Hence, I'm saying it starts with us parents, it starts with us guardians, community members, to make sure that abantwana who have disabilities are protected and are catered for, and schools are provided for such care. The lack of inclusive education in our communities is alarming, and this also leads to some of the abuse that is currently taking place. Abazali, they can say, abantwana babo, we are protecting abantwana bethu from being abused and from being uklekwa and to be ridiculed. But while they are being kept at home, abantwana, there are high number of chances which those particular children, they can be abused and also lead to babulawa. There are a couple of articles basically that have recorded the number of abuse that have occurred in the past and are still happening. As much as that is not being recorded in the newspapers, it doesn't mean that abuse is no longer taking place. It is taking place, but the few articles that have been recorded are those few articles that basically maybe they were reported by our neighbors. Part of this platform, like I said, as much as I want to share the experience that I've had of teaching in a special school, is also to create some sort of awareness to make sure as long as umntwana he or she is still within the school going age, umntwana loyo must be esikolweni. It's very important that abantwana bethu provide with care and make sure ukuthi siyabasupporta, and ikolo lezi that have been formed for them to be supported. So amagama, this platform is also going to act as a form of making awareness to us as the community, to say we need to make sure we are held accountable. If we know anyone onomntwana on a learning disability, we need to make sure we share the information. Whether umzali can go to the nearby school, ayobuza ukuthi where can she or when can he find assistant in terms of a district, because some district around Gauteng, around South Africa, the ones that are dealing with the registration and making sure that abantwana bethu they are taken care of ekolweni. It's very important. I also remember during my childhood when I was growing up in primary as well as secondary, we also had abantwana in my section where I come from, Mpumalanga Standard One, by the way, abantwana who had disabilities. By then we didn't know what was happening with them, but we knew they were kept emakhaya by their parents. They were not attending school, and some of them were not playing with us. At the time they would be coming outside to play with us. I mean, as abantwana now, they'll be laughed at and things like that. Yes, like I said, maybe one of the reasons that abazali bafuna ukuthi abantwana babo bazohlekwa, ba-abuswe by being ridiculed, but that is not a reason enough ukuthi abantwana bethu bahlale emakhaya. Lapho ngibuya khona, there is no special school. How I wish that maybe in the future Thembal Bulali ukuthi 2 special schools can also be formed there, to make sure that abantwana bethu they have access to support that they need, because not abantwana abaningi that are attending school. Some of them are being challenged intellectually. If they are challenged intellectually, that means they need to be placed in a special school. So hence it is also my wish nami ukuthi lapho engibuya khona kube khona ama special schools Two, and also one of the schools can be a resource center. A resource center basically means it's a school, but that school is support your corner. It's been intensified by personnel, by trained personnel. That would be your psychologist, that would be your therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, as well as making sure that resources of the school are available for abantwana bethu ukuthi babe supported. If umntwana mhlambe is a hard of hearing, unenkinga yokuzwa, then ama-test will be done and umntwana will be given a hearing aid. I Themba Bulali, I'm hoping ukuthi in the near distant future, such schools can exist in my area where I come from, because I do have an auntie who are educators, and whenever we are meeting together, we do talk about such challenges together. Abantwana bethu, not all of them are coping ekolweni, and they do share their experiences of having challenges ekolweni. So such schools, they are needed, and they are needed, and they do provide support because they have trained personnel. I can never really say that when I was in high school I wanted to be a teacher, let alone to be a teacher in a special school. But I do remember when I was doing grade 9 in high school, I used to be obsessed about clinical psychology, because I was watching a lot of Dr. Phil on CPC2, and teacher did advise me, even the personality, even the interest is there for me. So I did research, and she advised, and I was so interested, and I was so drawn to him. Once I finish my matric, I'm definitely going to do a psychology. And lo and behold, in grade 11, ngaphasa kahle sa-apply lana ePitori, and we promised basithatha, our application was accepted. Unfortunately, when I completed my grade 12, because of a cheating scandal that happened there in my district at that time, according to what we were told, is that umalusi what deduct 10% each subject. So EM score yami was affected, and I remember one of the university la in Pretoria that has accepted me. The only thing that they were waiting for was my result from grade 12. They called me admission officer corner to say, we have received your transcript, or you received your results for grade 12. However, unfortunately, you no longer meet the M score that is required for you to do the program. I was devastated, and I was so discouraged, because I only applied in one university. I never applied to any other university apart from the one that I applied for. But through the support of my family at the time, I was advised, you can also apply for the very same thing, register for the very same thing at UNISA, which I did. In fact, I did all 4 of my qualification with UNISA, including the masters that I completed a couple of years back. And definitely, I'm still going to continue studying, because I'm interested. I'm very much interested in research in terms of education and psychology. So in any way, we also need to take note that abantwana who are in matric, whenever January comes, we know that January becomes a stressful period, because they are waiting for my results at grade 12, as well as they are waiting to see their application will be accepted, so that they can be they can register in those institutions. So it's very much important for us to note and to make sure we support abantwana bethu, those with anxieties. We know sometimes they go through anxiety, and some of them they even commit suicide, especially those who didn't do well. Well, moving on, in one of the episodes, I'm hoping I will touch on it. I'll touch on this aspect of the challenges that are facing abantwana bethu in high schools, and how can we do more? How can we assist them? To say how can we assist them by availing ourselves, making sure they have people that they can trust, that they can talk to, and that they can be of aid to whatever experience that they're going through. I will tell you a very funny story. When I was doing my first year, I always considered myself very clever and very intelligent. So should you. My first year in UNISA, the only thing that I did was to do assignments and attend my lectures, but I never studied, because I thought to myself, I'm gonna walk in that exam hall and pass. I can tell you at some of the papers I wrote, the modules that I failed that particular year, I was literally studying while I was going to the exam room. But there was one experience that I think maybe it's not waiting to say. it's okay. It's okay that you get to a school and try to adjust your way, so that maybe you can learn from that experience. I'm telling you, that was the only year that I failed a tertiary ever since. I learned my lesson because we had a talk with my father to say he's supporting me. He's there for me. At the same time, I also need, to come to the party and make sure ukuthi ngiyapasa, because of course, obviously, awufundi mahala. Tertiary life and post it is just a different experience altogether. As you are forced to grow, as you are forced to adjust and to make decisions that will have a direct impact on your current state as well as your future career. Unfortunately, at times things don't go according to the plan, according to the script, but it's never too late for you to change. It's never too late for you to refocus and to make sure that you reflect and make sure that you take stock, and you take in stock and work on what you need to work on. Post my psychology degree, I had an interest in studying further, doing my honors and as well as my masters, doing the 1 year internship, as well as writing a board exam with HPCSA. But like I said, things didn't go as planned because I was forced to find umsebenzi. Abazali bethu sometimes they think, no, upasile manje, une degree. So the degree le definitely should open doors for you. That's why I had to find a job, and from there it was just a different ball game. Adulting, like ala khona ke lapho. But I never really deterred. I was not discouraged. As much as I was not studying at the time when I started working, but I knew why I had to work. Some people are privileged enough to have abazali with deep resources in terms of the bag to support them to study until in such level. But nakhona, those like myself who would have wanted to study further couldn't study further. We managed to get umsebenzi, and then from there sasifundisa thina. And I must applaud abantu, those who are married and those who have families, but they are still studying. I must applaud, because the responsibility, the focus that one needs, it's just tremendous. It's just tremendous, and also the sacrifice that one should make, because it is not easy for you to have all the responsibility of being a housewife or a husband, or being a parent at the same time. Ufunde, it is not easy. There's a lot that goes into that. But I must say, the experience that I had, my tertiary journey, I would not change it for a thing. But I'm still going to continue to study, because like I said before, I have a huge interest in psychology as well as education, especially in research. And once you're in this field, education and psychology as well as other fields, of course, imfundo ayipheli kodwa kuphela isikhathi. That's why abantu abaningi they study until they're past post 60, because of the interest that they have in whatever they are studying, in whatever they are studying. I must say also, as much as I said, I noted that I never really had an interest in being an educator, but being involved in church programs like Pathfinders, Adventurers, and Master Guide, those who are Adventists who understand, as a Sabbath, Seventh-day Adventist, that you are encouraged to be part of a youth. I was part of a youth. I was also a youth leader, being a teacher to a youth class, where also you learn skills of teaching, even though it was done informally. But I must say that informal experience enabled me, in fact, to create an interest which I can also study to be a teacher formally. So and I did that. I studied formal teaching, and afterward I did a bit of research. Where can I study? Because they also to mention that the interest, I also had an interest of doing career coaching, because when I was doing my degree in UNISA, my undergrad degree in psychology with UNISA, our psychology students were trained by Faculty of Education to be student counselors, basically siza abantwana esikolweni to deal with the stress, trauma, as well as module selection, as well as course selection. Abantwana abaningi they had a struggle adapting to life, but being part of that program really strengthened my skills. Hence I said I also had an interest to do career counseling. I would do that, and while I started working, I was also able to request time away from work to go to schools around Pretoria and do career presentation. At times I'll be invited to do such presentations, in churches, and which I did enjoy, So opting to study teaching basically was beneficial in the long term, because I thought to myself, I want to add value. That's why I chose special needs education instead of going to teach in a primary school or in a secondary school, because I had an interest of saying abantwana laba who are having disabilities abazenzanga, at the same time they need somebody to assist them, they need somebody to understand, to try and understand their world. In one of the episodes, I would also discuss the importance of career guidance, and I'm definitely sure ukuthi bakhona abantwana who are still struggling today when it comes to choosing careers, let alone having a second and third option to say ukuthi you must have one or two, maybe three, maybe four options to say these are the things that are these are the courses that I would like to study post-matric, and abantwana abaningi abafiki lapho because of various reasons. There is no support, there is no guidance ekolweni. So being in education, basically, it's interesting in the sense that I'm able to gauge myself and also to see, to be aware what am I doing, especially in terms of aiding support. The following pointers are one of the reasons why I decided to start this platform, this YouTube channel. Number one, it is to enlighten people about different kinds of disabilities as well as equal, meaning ukuthi abantu abaningi in our communities abazi ukuthi abantwana, whenever they're having disabilities, what are those disabilities. Umntwana mhlawumbe une-intellectual disability, une-physical disability, une-Down syndrome, umntwana autistic, umntwana une-epilepsy and things like that. So they don't know. So I'm hoping ukuthi one of the things that this platform would meet is that information will be shared to abantu abangazi, abantu they will know ukuthi ama-disability anje, and abantwana with these disabilities, there are ways that you can support abantwana, and also there are schools that can cater for those abantwana, and also to create awareness in my community, because also when I was a teacher, both Northwest and here in Pretoria, our community members could be parents, could be abomalume and neighbors. They were having negative stereotype because they were name calling abantwana. They were laughing, ridiculing them and things like that. Basically, they were counting them off to say they will never be amount to anything in the community because of their disabilities. So I'm hoping the awareness, a positive awareness, will be created where information will be shared to our community to say abantwana bethu who are attending special schools, they need to be protected. They need to be loved. Provide platform for multidisciplinary team. This team basically deals with supporting abantwana. That will be a doctor, psychologist, therapist, nurse, social workers, as well as parents, to come and share the important stories and the importance of providing support to abantwana bethu who are experiencing barriers, and also to invite former students that I used to teach. Most of them are working, and they also have now their families, to come and share what kind of support they receive, as well as giving hope to those who are going through the journey of being counted out, to be written off, to say because of this disability you will not amount to anything. So if you hear their stories, I'm definitely sure that it definitely would encourage and inspire those who are having learning barriers. I consider myself as a lifelong learner, as I've mentioned, that I'm planning to further my studies, please do share this information. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, and also you share this. I consider myself as a lifelong learner, as I've mentioned, that I'm planning to further my studies. Furthering my studies are also on the cards. I love learning, especially learning from others, because as imfunda ipheli. Unfortunately, we need to be out of this idea ukuthi we can only learn formally. No, there are many ways for us to learn. But we need to avail ourselves and make sure we are ready to learn. Hence, I'm saying I'm a lifelong learner. I like to learn, and I like to learn from others. Hence, I'm planning to invite abantu who are learned in basically education and psychology to come and assist and share a bit of information, share a bit of knowledge. How can we be better in terms of supporting abantu who are having learning disabilities, So in summary of the lessons today that we have covered, we conclude that neurodevelopmental disorders are a group of disabilities or disorders that occur during developmental stage of a child, and then through science we have also noted that test, diagnostic screening test to see which while umama is pregnant, umntwana loyo will have a disability or not. Then abazali, they can make a personal decision moving forward. People who are living with disabilities, they require a different kind of care, a different kind of love, especially when it comes to schooling environment, because we know, as we have read constitution as well as some of the policies, to say just because you have disability, it does not mean that you should be kept a kaya. People living with disabilities, as much as they need the care, they need the love, as communities, we need to be involved, making sure we take care of them, we protect them. Inclusive education, not only locally but globally, acknowledges that abantwana who have learning challenges, they need to be supported, and they call in that support to be modified to make sure abantwana bethu they are supported. And also abazali who are having abantwana labo, they are encouraged they need to go to schools, whether it's a primary school, whether it's secondary school, but to go and ask and get information where can they find these schools, and of course those schools will direct them to correct them at district office where they can find the assistant. It is our responsibility to love and to protect those living with disabilities, especially abantwana, because abantwana, they are powerless. Abantwana, they cannot protect themselves. Abantwana, they cannot defend themselves. We read an article showing it has been reported corner abantu in our communities who are abusing abantwana and leading to killing them, just because umntwana it looks different from you, just because umntwana una disabilities. And therefore, I must say thank you for being part of our lesson today. Don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe to our channel. Join us next time. Class dismissed.